Hi, I'm Carla Higgins, and this is the Double Duty Agent Podcast. I am so glad you're here. Each week, we get together and we explore the stories of successful double duty real estate agents. And from their stories, you can find the solutions to overcoming your challenges and the keys to unlocking your success. Are you ready? Let's get started. Welcome back, Double Duty Agents. I'm your host, Carla Higgins, and in this episode, this is the third part of our 5 master keys to unlock your success, that little mini series I'm pulling together. So far, we've tackled unlimiting beliefs. Yeah, unlimiting beliefs. How are you doing unlimiting your beliefs? Identifying the story you're telling yourself. What have you told yourself over and over and over again to create that belief? Then you ask yourself, is that 100% true? What will happen if I keep believing that story, that belief, and then rewriting a new story? So, how are you doing with those actions? Also, creating a time block schedule. How did you do with that? Did you come up with your work schedule, the hours that you're going to use to build your real estate business? And then time blocked your 5 job responsibilities plus that admin time and a little swimming in the crazy. How are you doing with those? If you haven't had a chance to catch those episodes, be sure to go back and listen because they set the foundation for everything actually that we're going to cover today. So, today we're diving into something that's absolutely critical for your business success: consistency in lead generation and lead follow up. As a double duty agent, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and pulled in a million directions. But the truth is, if you're not consistently generating leads and following up, your business, well, it's going to struggle, it's going to stagnate. So today, I'm going to give you the framework, the tools, and the systems to ensure that you stay consistent, even when time is tight. All right. So let's jump in. Consistency matters more than occasional effort, especially in lead generation and lead follow up. Here's why. Lead generation is a pipeline process. It takes time to nurture relationships and build trust, which means that you can't just lead generate once a week or once a month and expect consistent results. Real estate is a relationship based business. And that means that you need to stay top of mind, front of mind with people regularly. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to spend all day, every day lead generating, but it does mean that small daily actions will have a much bigger impact over time than sporadic bursts of activity. The truth is, consistency creates momentum. And when you're consistently reaching out, following up, and staying in touch with your database, with your sphere of influence, with your past clients, you're not just generating leads, you're nurturing relationships, and those relationships will turn into future business. And that's the key difference I want to highlight. Generating leads is important, but nurturing them is what turns a lead into a client and into a closing. So many agents get a lead and they think the job is done, but that's just the beginning. The real work is in the follow up. Consistency in both lead generation and lead follow up is going to be your secret, your master key to your long term success. To help you stay consistent, I want to introduce you to a simple system I call the double duty 5x5. This system is designed to ensure that every day you make progress in both generating leads and nurturing the ones that you already have. It's manageable, it's simple, and it works. It works so much that when I wrote the double duty 5x5, and I am not a full time agent, I am not an agent in production at all. In fact, I am a full time coach and then some. But in May of this year, when I wrote the double duty 5 by 5, I wanted to test it before I brought it to my coaching clients. I wanted to find out, did the double duty 5 by 5 generate what I thought it would? So for 30 days, not even 30 days, because I only did it 5 days a week. So maybe 20 days, I followed the double duty 5 by 5. And this was with a database who, I have to be honest with you, has been neglected because I'm not an agent in production at all. So I have some smart plans running, keeping in contact, but just not really generating business from my database because I wasn't lead generating. So for 1 month, I lead generated following the double duty 5 by 5. And I was very diligent to make sure that I followed it to the T because I wanted to test how well it would work for you. And at the end of 30 days, I was like, wow, look at this pipeline that I have built. And that pipeline now, as we set at the end of September, has generated 8 pieces of business for me. I have had 5 closings. I have a closing tomorrow, and I have 2 listings coming up. So, definitely generated the business that I thought it would. So, the system works. So, follow it, and it should be super easy to follow. All right. So here it is. We're going to do 5 calls to your database. This could be past clients, your sphere of influence. We call that SOI. Your sphere of influence, really anyone in your database that you want to connect with, that you want to reconnect with. And this is not a sales pitch, it is a relationship building conversation. We talked about this last week on Coach's Corner, right? Change your outcome. Change what you're trying to achieve when you make your calls and focus on building relationships, nurturing relationships, and the business will follow. So, 5 calls to your database, connecting with your database, checking in on them, seeing how they're doing. Is there anything that you could do for them to provide service for them? Maybe a vendor that they need for a project, or maybe what they would like some information about how wealthy they are, how much equity they have in their home. And then if real estate hasn't come up towards the very end of the conversation, no big deal because you still have that one last opportunity. And you remember it from Coach's Corner a few weeks ago. It's the magic question. And the script is just simply, this has been so great catching up. I'd like to call more regularly if that would be okay with you. And before I let you go, can I ask you one quick question? Who do you know that might need my help with real estate? That's it. You don't have to ask them to sell their home. You don't have to ask them to buy a home. You just ask them, who do you know that might need my help with real estate? And if they are thinking about buying or selling, they will say, well, as a matter of fact, last night my husband and I were just talking about maybe selling the house. Or if they're not interested in selling their house or buying another, they might say, I really can't think of anyone right now. And you'll remember from our conversation about the magic question, that's going to create a marketing team for you because their RAS, their reticular activator system, is going to go out and look for business for you. So simple, 5 calls to your database. The next thing is 5 text messages. And these can be quick check ins or updates to people you haven't spoken to in a while. It could be you called somebody, you left them a voicemail, and then you shot them a text message and said, hey, I was thinking of you. I gave you a call. I got your voicemail. And I just wanted to let you know I'd love to chat. When you get a second, give me a shout, right? That could just be your text message. So it's a great way to stay on someone's radar without being intrusive at all. And I mean, y'all tell me that texting is what people want to do, right? So here you go. I'm giving you 5 text messages as part of your double duty 5 by 5 system. The next one is 5 direct messages on social media. It could be Instagram, Facebook, wherever you choose to promote yourself on social media, or wherever your social media time is spent. 5 direct messages. You are sending those to gather missing information from your contacts. So you've got people in your database, and maybe you don't have their phone number or their email or their mailing address, and you may have friends and contacts, followers in your social media, and you don't have their contact information at all. They're not even in your database. So you're going to systematically find those people and send them direct messages. You can also use these 5 direct messages to simply engage with people in a personal way. Maybe you're asking for an updated email or phone number, like I mentioned, or it may just be that you want to keep in touch. You may make a comment that on something that you saw on their social media. So whatever that might be, but 5 of those, and be intentional. Right. This is intentional. This is lead generation. This isn't, chit chat or anything like that. We want to be intentional with what we're doing and make sure that we're building relationships. And then 5 pipeline calls. These are calls to anyone who has ever told you yes or maybe they might be interested in buying or selling a home. They've already expressed some level of interest. So your job is to keep nurturing them and moving them towards a decision. Now, if you're a brand new agent and you don't have anybody in your pipeline, you don't have anyone who's said yes or maybe to you, guess what you do with those 5 calls? If you guess that we go ahead and lead generate, you're exactly right. So then you would be calling 5 more calls to your database. Okay, 5 more calls just to connect with somebody and build relationships. So until you start building your pipeline, right, you need that little bit of extra. And then your last thing is 5 social media interactions. James Shaw says, if you know who James Shaw is, with Pivot Shift Ahead, I think is his group. But what he says is no lazy liking. So no blue thumbs. Blue thumbs is not an interaction. Nobody keeps track of who liked their posts. So you're going to post one piece of your own content that adds value to your audience. And we do this on a 50-50 rotation. So we want 50% personal so that they can continue to know you, like you, trust you, and then 50% business. So maybe it's 2 personal posts this week and 3 business. And then maybe next week we invert that and we do 3 and 2, whatever that looks like. So, one piece of business that adds value to your audience or contributes to that know, like, and trust. And then I want you to engage with at least 4 other people by commenting on their post or making another one of the emojis, not lazy liking, but one of the other emojis. And this will help you stay visible without constantly promoting yourself and your business. Now, you might be thinking, Coach Carla, that's an awful lot to do in one day. I'm double duty. It really isn't. If you stick to these 5 tasks and do them consistently with focus, you're looking at about an hour of work. And that's an hour well spent every day that directly impacts your business growth. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some other lead generation strategies, but I want to make sure that I drive this point home. Your database is going to generate business for you at a much higher conversion ratio than any of the other things that we're going to talk about. So, think back to last Friday's Coaches Corner with call reluctance. So many agents tell me that they would rather talk to strangers than talk to people that already know them, like them, trust them. And last Friday, we talked about why that call reluctance exists. We've got to work through that call reluctance because calling your database, calling the people who already know you, like you, and trust you. This is absolutely critically important to your success. All right. So the next one we're going to talk about is having a system for open houses. Open houses, when at Keller Williams, they keep track of where business comes from for successful real estate agents. And the large, vast majority of everyone's business comes from their database. And this number 2 method of lead generation, generating business, is open houses. So if you're doing open houses as part of your lead generation strategy, and I would suggest that if you're a double duty agent, you really should consider open houses, then consistency is going to be just as important here. An open house without people attending is, well, frankly, it's a waste of time. You remember, we have 3 things we can do with our time, just like we have 3 things that we can do with our money. We can invest it, we can spend it, or we can waste it. And I would suggest to you, as a double duty agent, that you cannot afford to waste your time or even spend your time. You need to make sure in your business that all of the time that you spend is truly investing. In order to invest your time in an open house, you need to have people attending, and that means you have to have a system. An open house isn't just about putting a sign in the yard and hoping people show up. Hope is not a business strategy. So you're going to start by planning your open house well in advance. If you followed me last week and you know when we were talking about theme days, I got my open houses on Mondays. You should know by the end of the day on Monday what house you'll be hosting that weekend. And then you can spend the rest of the week executing a plan to drive traffic to that open house. And that could include posting on social media, reaching out to your database, knocking on the doors in the neighborhood, running ads, perhaps, if that's part of your strategy. The key is to consistently follow this process every time you plan an open house. This ensures that you're building awareness and driving potential buyers and sellers to your open house, to the home. And also, don't forget to follow up with everyone who attends the open house unless they told you they had an agent and they were already in a buyer's agency agreement. Add them to your database and incorporate them into your daily 5x5 system for follow up, like we talked about last week with time blocking. Maybe it's your theme day. And on Mondays, it's all about open houses. I schedule my open house and I follow up with all my open house leads. I would challenge you, though, if you're going to have an open house, that you actually follow up with the leads the same day as the open house, because after they left your open house, they probably went to another open house where there was another agent, and it's speed to lead. It simply is. Whoever's going to be the first person to follow up with them likely is going to get their business. So I did between 3 and 5 open houses every week, or pretty much every week. When I was a double duty agent, open houses was my number one thing that I did to generate leads. And I typically did not leave the driveway until I had followed up with my leads from that particular open house. Just as simple. Usually it was a message. Hey, this is Carla. I met you at 123 Main Street today at the open house. And I just wanted to check in to see if you had any other questions for me and how I could be of service to you. So simply, that is that follow up. The combination of consistent open houses and structured follow up, I promise you, will create a steady stream of leads, but you have to stay disciplined. You have to stay consistent. And I can't stress that enough. That is our master key, is consistent lead generation and lead follow up. All right, let's talk about creating a lead generation strategy that works for you. Every agent is different, and what works for one agent may not work for another. But the key, again, is consistency. Here are a few simple strategies that can fit into your double duty 5x5 system. The first one was database calls. We talked about that before. Start with people who you already know, who know you, like you, and trust you. These conversations should focus on catching up, providing value, and seeing if they know anyone who needs your help. That magic question. Open houses, as I mentioned earlier, open houses are a great way to generate leads if you do them consistently, and plan for them in advance and make sure you're promoting them every week with a system, something that you do routinely over and over and over again. Social media engagement. Social media is a gold mine for lead generation if used correctly. Focused use of social media. It's not just about posting, it's about engaging, creating conversations on social media, and then figuring out how to get those conversations off of social media and into your phone. Consistent interaction with your followers build relationships and keep you top of mind. And then follow up. As I said before, lead generation is important, but follow up is where magic happens. Make it a daily habit to check in with anyone who has expressed interest in working with you. Remember, the power is in small daily actions. You don't need to have a marathon lead generation session. The key is to do a little bit every day and stay on top of it. Over time, these actions compound, and I promise you will generate massive results for you. The last thing I want to touch on is the importance of tracking your progress, tracking your business numbers. You cannot improve what you don't measure. So make it a habit. to track your lead generation and follow up efforts. This can be as simple as a checklist or a spreadsheet where you log your daily 5x5 activities. The more you track, the more you'll see patterns. And maybe you notice that your pipeline calls are turning into more appointments or that certain types of social media interactions get more responses. Tracking gives you insight into what's working and where you might need to adjust. Consistency is not just about doing the work, it's about paying attention to the results and making improvements, adjustments along the way. All right, it's that time. It's time for your action item of the week. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to commit to doing the daily double 5x5 system for 1 week. And let's see what happens in your business. That's 5 conversations, just 5 conversations a day, right? That is 5 text messages every day. That is 5 direct messages on social media to get missing information for your database or to have a conversation. That's 5 pipeline calls, 5 follow ups with someone who said yes, or maybe they might be interested in 5 social media interactions. That is 1 post, and that make that 50-50 business and personal. And that is 4 interactions, no lazy liking, so no thumbs up, but other emojis, or more even better would be comments on other people's posts. And when we make comments, one little trick there is to always ask a question, because a question will lead to a conversation, and conversations is what we're really looking for. So we're going to do this. Follow the daily double 5x5, 5 calls to your database, 5 text messages, 5 direct messages, 5 pipeline calls or lead generation calls if you do not have a pipeline, and then posting 1 content and 4 engagements every day, 5 days a week, and track your progress. This may seem small, but the results will compound over time, and you will be amazed at the business this creates. All right, next week, we're going to dive into setting meaningful goals and why your why must be bigger than your resistance. Trust me, this is a key element, a master key that will keep you moving forward when things get tough. So you do not want to miss it. Thank you so much for joining me today. Let's keep working towards success together, one step at a time. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you're leaving inspired and you found a key or two you're going to try out this week to see how they help you to unlock your success. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single story. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can find me at doubledutypodcast.com. That link is also in the show notes. Until next time, have a productive week.